Okay, good evening and welcome to the November 26th edition of the Community Development Advisory Committee. Everyone is in attendance except for Wendy, who is absent with notice. And we'll need an approval for tonight's agenda for the November 26th, 2024 Community Development Advisory Committee meeting agenda. So we'll need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Wilsey and Brad is our seconder. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? I will speak on this section. It's not really a pecuniary interest, but it is to clear up any possibilities of a conflict of interest, and that's to 7.1 on the agenda, entries 3 and 5 on 7.1. Any others? Sherry?
Same, not a pecuniary, but don't want a perceived conflict of interest on 7.1, number 2.
Any others? Okay, we'll need approval for the minutes from the CDAC meeting on September the 10th of 2024. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Pammer. Need a seconder for that. Councillor Wilsey, any comments, corrections to the minutes? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Unfinished business, 5.1 advertising strategy.
Thank you, Chair. I just put this back on the agenda. It's been on the agenda for a couple meetings now. I just want to, if any committee members have comment to it. Staff still have a little bit of cleanup with regards to some of the highlighted areas, but outside of that, just want to know if the committee had any comments, because I want to bring back a clean draft for the meeting in January, so we can move it onto council. So that's the reasons why it's here. If you haven't had time to read it over the weekend, take some time. As long as I have the information for 2nd of January or so, then we can tie that into the next meeting for the 14th.
Councillor Wilsey.
Director LeBron, is this policy just through community services, or are there other departments involved with implementing it? And the reason I'm asking, so I know with some of the stuff we've done before, as the R-zone plan got bigger, that ended up going to the clerk's department. And when we're looking at things, or establishing a framework for managing it, and I'm just reading through the first bit, it sounds a lot like there's a lot of legal stuff there. So I'm wondering if the clerks and legal and legislative services department should be involved in this rather than being strictly community services. And I don't know if I see the interdepartmental workings in how this policy is written right now.
So primarily this policy will be used by community services. We're the ones that sell the advertising, do the sponsorship, and so on. So I don't see a cross-departmental approach with this policy like we did with the R-zone. All of with regards to the legal portion of this is what our solicitor is suggesting that we just put in it, so we make sure that we're covering our bases, but it would be operated through the community services department.
Any other questions? Okay. 5.2, sponsorship program.
I'm going to let Kate speak to that. I know we did hand out packages at the last meeting, and this is just a bit of a refresh to get at the top of the page for all of you.
Yeah, we got sponsorship out really early this year. I'm not panicking yet, but we have not really had any pickup. I know people still haven't made their budgets for 2025. They're not approved. But if you have the time or the opportunity to speak with anyone, if you're at any events where there's businesses or manufacturers who are looking to be involved in the community, please recommend that they sponsor Strathroy-Caradoc's events. I think that's it.
Any questions at all, or anything for Kate?
Just do you know the value that we've received in 2024? Your sponsorship by chance?
In the system, I believe we're at $37,000. We should be at 44 by the end of the year.
Anything else for Kate? Okay. Reports of committees and departments. We do have a recommendation to receive the reports, so I'll need a mover and a seconder to receive, please and thank you. Councillor Popwin and Jagger, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 6.1.1, 2024 list of projects for the PTP.
I just want to make it known that I finally added the Mount Burgess Dog Park, as requested, 6 months ago.
Okay,
Again, it's on here for information and sharing with the public.
number 7, new business, 7.1. Oh, sorry, Councillor Popwin, my apologies.
Thank you. Just a quick question about that. The $50,000, would that be if the land's donated?
Absolutely.
Councillor Pammer.
What kind of uptake have we had? I feel like in 2 years, have we taken anything off the list? Like how successful, I'm just kind of wondering about this project. If we don't get businesses or service clubs coming forward, you know, do we want to, is this model kind of working? And I only bring that up because there's recently in London, they just did this one, small community initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
That looked really interesting. That kind of reminded me of this, but done a little bit differently. And they had great uptake on it in different community projects. So I guess I'm just asking what your take on this is from an evaluation perspective, and whether at all we want to look at changing it up a bit. I don't know.
So from the list, there's not a lot that have been taken off the list, but there have been projects that people have come forward that would comply to the PTP program. So the robotic mower, as an example, the community garden that is still up for some discussion. Hopefully we'll have a report at the next council meeting. The
Gingerbread bench.
Pardon me?
The gingerbread bench.
Sorry, yes, the gingerbread bench and the statues that have just been purchased. So if all of the projects get, if the community garden comes through at the next council meeting, we'll have expended almost all of the $40,000 this year.
Councillor Pammer.
So what you're saying though is that the community is coming forth with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually working a little bit more like that community program that runs out of London as opposed to people picking off our list. So that just kind of, for me, begs the question that says, you know, do we want to look at that, expanding that model a little bit, which encourages people to come forward with some ideas, as opposed to more passively waiting to see if people come up with ideas and come in.
Councillor Popwin.
The intent of the program was always for community groups to come forward and for us to assist with them. The list that's in front of us is just in case somebody says, hey, I want to do something, are there any opportunities? But primarily from the day of inception, PTP was always a community-oriented program that groups would come forward first, and then we would be able to have some budget to help them.
Director LeBorn and then Councillor Pammer.
So the reason we went to a list approach was we were having service clubs come forward and say, we want to do something, we just don't know what to do. Do you have anything that the community or the town would like us to contribute to? So that's where we started this list process. We did have a movie screen on here that has been taken off because we've had someone who contributed to the movie screen. There was a bike repair station that was on here that has been taken off. The beach volleyball court was on here and has been taken off. So there's been a number that we've removed, and we've just added new stuff to it. So,
Councillor Pammer.
I just think that, I mean, I understand the history and why it's here. I just think that the other program, doing it the other way, is a little bit more engaging. It really, it's like a contest, right? So it encourages people to come up with some ideas about, and it's like going to the community saying, what would make the community better for you? What would you like? A park bench here, or, you know, a garbage can here, or gingerbread things around town. It's just a little more interactive, a little more proactive, as opposed to sitting back and kind of waiting for people to come forward. That's all.
Director Lilborn and then Councillor Wilsey.
Yeah, so I can reach out to the City of London and see what their program looks like, and see what's all involved, and we can go from there. And, there's no harm in investigating.
Councillor Wilsey?
Maybe as like a middle ground to kind of do part way to that program and part way to keep the list. 'Cause the biggest issue that I've had with this list is I presented this to a few different groups, the Mount Bridges and the different ones, and they've asked about it and what they can do. And they look at this list like, we don't want to do any of those. I say, well, you can present your own, but it doesn't really show that on the list that they can present their own.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if we could maybe just really simple, add each one, or bring your suggestions to make it very clear on this list. Because I know I've taken it to the Lions 3 times, and I keep saying, we don't want to do anything on this list, I want to do this. And I can say, well, you can just ask council for that, which is exactly what the program's doing. But they're like, well, then they show it to their members and say, well, it's not on the list, we can't do it, they're just going to say no. And then, that's kind of the attitude I'm hearing back from people when I show it to them.
So
That's why I'm just thinking, if we just put a line item on each section.
why don't we just change how we present it as well?
We should do both, we
Make it
could actually do
more
both of those.
presentable and add a line of community section, all right? So let us work on something. Not gonna commit that we'll have something for January 14th, but we'll work on something, because I'm liking what you're saying, so.
Anything else? Good discussion there. Okay. New business 7.1, community events program application review.
So you all were sent, I didn't send the applications through eScribe. That would have, I'm not sure if that would have melted eScribe or not. But, there was a lot of information, so I sent them out separately to you. I did, on the eScribe, did provide the community, if I can open it up, come on. I did provide a breakdown of the groups, what they're asking for, and their total request. So I'm not sure how the group wants to go through the actual selection of the groups. Staff have gone through and completed a spreadsheet similar to the one that we did last year, almost identical to the one we did last year, where it covers all of the requirements, so such as, are they a not-for-profit? Do they have proof that they're not-for-profit? Are they located in Strathroy-Caradoc? I can share that spreadsheet and we can go through it line by line, or we can sit here and see what the committee wants to proceed with, so.
Councillor Buckman?
A couple of questions. What's our budget here?
The current budget is $53,000.
Okay. Second question, there was a delegation to council about a Canada Day presentation for Strathroy, and I don't see that group on this list. Is that separate?
That request came out of the 2024 allocation. They did not submit for 2025.
But those funds will be available to them for the 2025 show.
That's correct,
So
yes.
essentially, they've already received their money.
That is correct. They needed the money prior to the 2025 calendar year because they needed to have commitment applied for the fireworks and so on.
Third question. So the Melbourne Agricultural Society Tractor Pull and the Tractor Fest, maybe, I can tell they're two different events, no problem with that. Just wondering what the difference is between the two events. Like, is one like an antique tractor show and the other a tractor pull, or?
So I will let Kate, I know Kate's been working with the groups.
So in the past, the Tractor Pull was at the same time as Tractor Fest. They've now gone their separate ways, so it seems to be two entirely different events. So both very similar, but by two different committees on two different dates.
Right, and essentially by reading the Melbourne Agricultural Society, the $10,000 isn't really for the one day, it's for their annual events all the way across, okay? So in saying that, and then getting clarification on those, the only thing that I don't see as being eligible, and it pains me to say it, is the Fridge Door Live Theater Company, because they're using professional actors. And I don't think the intent is for us to be paying professional or to fund theater with professional actors. If it was community-based actors with amateur actors, that I could possibly support, but.
So, there was this committee fund, not this committee, but council through this program supported the SDCI's program one year for Indigenous, and they had a professional singer that they supported that program to support that singer, so they would be a professional singer. So precedent's been set, but I understand what you're saying.
Want to follow up?
Yeah, I guess I kind of saw that as a one-time event that had some special significance given other stuff that was happening in the communities, whereas I could see this group coming time and time again and requesting funding when they're paying the actors.
Sherry?
Did you read that somewhere, that there was professional actors within the application
Yes.
that was listed? I must have bypassed it. You got it?
Kate?
Just to clarify, Rob, the FNMI event was in the last, it wasn't in this same CEP application, it was in the previous
Yes,
applications.
yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
it didn't follow the same guidelines.
Okay.
Like-
Oh, you're right.
They could just not be amateur.
Order, please. Councillor Wilson, thank you.
My comments on the same thing as that one that we did for the First Nations one, that was the last year before we put in our new policy.
You're
So
right.
that was under different guidelines, it was under a different policy.
Stand
Steve,
corrected.
oh, sorry. Steve?
When I'm looking at this and it says relief waiver, do we count that in the budget then? So let's say we have $53,000 to give out, right? Are we counting that in the 47, that we're waivering those fees? Is that, like, really, we're not actually losing that money, or that money's not coming out of anywhere? Are we adding that into the budget then, that we would have received that money for that kind of rental for something? Is that the idea behind that?
So when there's a waiving of fees, so what's traditionally happened is council would say, yeah, we'll give such and such a group free use of the Gemini for the week. And we are now on the loss. When I say we, the Gemini, as an example, would be out a potential revenue of, let's say, $10,000. So to show that the department is not out $10,000, they take a transfer from the grant and apply it as revenue into the community services revenue stream. So it doesn't show that the department is losing money. We're actually receiving funds through the grant program. It's just a transfer of funds, that's all it is.
You good?
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Do we need action here, Director, or is this just for information?
So what we would need is if everyone is, like, I think we need to figure out what everyone's accepting. Like, are we accepting the requested totals, which total up to $47,912.93 or 43 cents? If that's the case, we would need an approval from this committee to move it to council with the recommendation to approve. If you're removing the Fridge Door Theater Company, then the motion, the recommendation would have to be recommend all but the Fridge Door Theater Company to be moved on to council for final approval.
Looking for recommendations from the committee then. Councillor Pluckman.
I'll make the recommendation that we accept the list as proposed minus the Fridge Door Live Theater Company. But if they wish to submit a budget so we can see where the monies are being spent, then perhaps that one could be reconsidered. But for the time being, I would make that motion.
We have a seconder. Steve, any comments or conversation to the motion? All in favor? That's carried.
So if I, sorry, if I may, just on this one item, we're still not receiving the detail that we want to see. Like, there's financial statements that aren't complete or missing, or budgets aren't handed in. So staff are going to, excuse me, are going to do an example one. So we'll take Ribfest as an example. That the municipality will apply to its own program and do that up as an example of what we would like to see come in. Because sometimes it's, for us, it's difficult to determine what exactly are they asking for? Where's the $1,000 or $3,500 going, right? So we need a little bit more information. So we're gonna work with them to try to get that more information. So we don't always have to keep going back to them. Just so you know, we are only going back to one group this year. Last year we went back to 6. So I think it's been a good step forward.
Okay, Steve.
Have we received feedback from the groups that applied to see whether this process is too onerous on them, or has it been too complicated? You know, have they said that they've dedicated lots of time to get this done? I'd like some feedback anyways to see, you know, have we streamlined it enough? You know, is it a good process? I would like them to know we want to give this money to the community. We're not trying to keep it, right? We're not trying to make it too onerous so no one wants to apply.
I'll let Kate, because Kate works with each group, so.
I have not received any feedback that is too onerous. From an event planning perspective, this information should be already done for their 2025 events. So it's really just pulling that information and putting it into our form. What I will say about this program is that this year I set up meeting times that I would meet with any of the groups to go over their applications. A number of them are actually receiving more money than the application technically allows for. So the motion's already been made for that, but quite a few of them are receiving more than the 25%. Many of them I spoke to and they lowered their amount. It's still slightly over, but that is something that I've noticed in going through the applications with them. None of them said it was onerous. Only one of the people who I reached out to chose to not fill out the forms and apply, but ultimately if you want that money, then you'll put the work into it.
Okay, good to go? Okay, let's go to 7.2, camp and aquatic year-end reports. Am I going to Paul here, Director?
You will be, but I'm gonna try to share my
Okay.
screen so we can see the PowerPoint, so just bear with me while I'm calling this up. Oh, my computer's really working fast tonight. There we go.
Do you know which one you're starting with?
I'm starting with the camp one.
Okay.
You just let me know if you need me to switch slides, Paul.
We'll turn over to Paul.
You get the wrong one, I think, don't you?
That's the camp.
You don't have the slideshow? You have Emily's camp report?
Yeah, that's Emily's.
Oh, did I
Not
send the
the
camp
slideshow.
report?
Yes.
Oh. How about we start with that one? Is that the,
That's the aquatic one, yeah?
yeah, let's start with that one and then,
Right on. Okay. Audit report 2024. You can. Next one shows our team. As we did the reports, Kate's kind of set the gauntlet with picking out quotes. So with a report she did for the market. So this one is individually we are one drop, together we are an ocean. And I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the name of the author of that quote. We had a really great team this year. Not everybody's in that picture above, but we had 26 staff for the pool, and 19 guards, 3 cashiers, and our 4 leadership team members. So I don't know if people have received feedback about this year, the pool, but really stepped it up with their game and things. And as we can go to the next slide, being the statistically speaking, our aquatic programs have been as strong as ever. Our rebound, we were certainly worried that the pandemic was going to cut into that and not recover, but we've certainly made a full recovery and grown a little bit as well. So funny season of weather that we had, but with rain and then drought and then rain and then no, we had tons of uptake at the park. Any questions as we go on the numbers? I don't have to dwell on them unless people have questions, but you can see the growth from that chart there on the top left in our programs. Public swimming, more people than we've ever had before. We got up to 17,486 visitors at the pool, so just for public swimming alone.
What did the numbers on the bar graph? You got the 5 numbers underneath. You got the
Can you
1751.
turn your microphone on, Councillor Wilson, please? Thank you.
What did the numbers under the bar graph mean? The 1751, the 900, the 794. In that bar graph on the top left. I see the years are the colors, but
Is that lessons, Paul?
That might just be the overall for the year. Oh, I think it was. Yeah. Overall numbers for the 3 categories.
But there's 5.
Shows the purple,
5 categories.
17,000 there, and then, so what 2024 is the number of people in lessons. In 2024.
Actually, jeez, keep losing that. Yeah, no, I don't. I haven't looked at this for a little bit, so.
I think it's the readout of the high mark. So if you look at the purple,
Can you turn your mic on, please, Steve? Thank you.
I think it's the readout of the high mark on the purple.
Yeah, but what do they represent?
So those are the lessons. Yeah.
There's lessons, okay.
So you had 1,751 lessons in 2024.
So
Then what's the
what's the
900?
900?
This is one group. This is one group.
So I have to get. Oh, I have to get back to you on that one. Yeah. No.
I
It's
think,
not pulling up for me here.
Yeah.
on
I'm
this.
just wondering if when you exported the information, if the AXI titles got mixed up somehow.
I think it did because this doesn't let me access it the way the program that I made it with.
Councillor Palmer?
And just to clarify, in the paragraph where you say the pool opened June 3rd and the final day was September 2nd, giving visitors 92 through the summer months, so it was at 92 days?
92 days. Yeah.
Okay, Paul, I guess you can move forward where you left off.
Yeah. So I can get back to you with those numbers once I can access the report again. So we're looking at the year-over-year growth here. Again, those numbers aren't coming up exactly for me on this one, but you can see our increase in revenue, 43%. Our increase in swim lesson revenue was 35%. And the big one that really has made a difference in our revenue is the aquatic memberships that we've been selling. And those went up, those have gone up 447% since we started doing them. And then the last sheet just shows some of the feedback that we've gotten for our programs. For the AquaFit program provides more variety, staff are more engaged than before. Like that there are more classes, want better times than at the end of the day or mid-morning, please. Public swim provides more variety, staff are more engaged than before, like that there are more classes, want better times than at the end of the day, mid-morning, please. As you can see, we're getting kind of the same things there. Lane swim, thank you for extra times. Lane signs are super helpful, want lane swims on holidays, want longer times than 50 minutes. Yeah, so instead of me reading everything for people, you can see the type of feedback that we're getting from our lessons as well, and our swim team. Things going really well, love what's going on. Yeah.
Paul, based on the, I'll have a question then Steve, maybe in the future, I don't know.
Hey, boss.
I don't know, maybe in the future. Based on the numbers that you're looking at and all that, are there certain aspects of the programming that staff is thinking, hey, maybe we should move this programming to this slot or this night or this day, and other parts of the programming based on attendance kind of away from a certain slot?
We're a little bit locked with space and time in the pool when it comes to switching things up. We are going to work next year to see if we can tweak things a little bit so that we can get a few more classes, especially for Aquafit, in the midday range. But it's tough when we're mixing swim lessons, and Aquafit's a perfect example that it needs specified times so that it's not conflicting with other programs. You can't have a lesson going on while you're having the Aquafit going at the same time. Unlike lane swim that you can squeeze into just about anything, so.
Steve?
How have the facilities held up for you? I see your increase in numbers, so you have increase in usage. Have you found the facility's been able to handle that kind of increase, or do you see that it's going to need some kind of upkeep because of your growth potential there?
I'm going to defer this question to Darren.
Okay.
Well, certainly with increased usage, when you look at any facility, you're going to end up with higher maintenance costs, right? So there's always more garbage, there's more kids running through the building, and there's always an increase in everything. So it's in how we manage those increases and try to maintain our operational expense to allow those programs to continue to grow too. So.
Follow up, Steve, yeah.
So is there, if we were looking at kind of a graph or a curve, is there something we're going to shoot for, a certain number we're going to shoot for that maximizes that? So it maximizes the usage, but also maximizes the facility without overtaxing it? Are we going to reach that point, or have we, or are we getting there? Or?
I think we're really close. Right now, we're looking at more of a maintenance phase of what we've got to, unless we're going to look at something. The only options are to expand our hours, which I don't know that that's a good option to look at. That's going later into the evenings. We're already going till 9 o'clock, or trying to expand weekends. And it doesn't seem to be really the times that people want anyways. So yeah, without making a bigger pool, it's going to be a tough one to expand past what it is. So,
Councillor Wilson.
With the increase in revenue, I know at my pool, my pool chemicals went up quite a bit this year. How have our costs done? Like, we've seen what the revenue went up. How much have the costs gone up with increased chemicals and increased usage and everything else?
So water consumption's gone up because we have the increased baler load requires an increased turnover of water, which then increases the amount of chemicals. We're slightly over on our chemical line. We're not bad on water. Where we've been successful this year is with regards to some of the equipment repairs. We did a lot of equipment repair last year. This year we haven't had as much. So we're coming in under budget on that line, but over budget on the chemicals. I think staffing, we are a little over budget, but that's offset by the additional revenues that were brought in. But the pool itself, typically if this was an indoor pool, you'd be running a loss of anywhere between $700 to $900 to $1 million operating loss on an indoor pool. This outdoor pool, I don't have the budget in front of me, but I believe it was around $225 or $235 operating loss for the outdoor pool.
I have a couple questions for Paul. As far as 9 o'clock shutdown, has there been any discussion, and I'm not sure if it would even be value added, because there'd be a lot of ripple effect as far as extending staff hours and whatnot, as far as lighting to, I don't know if an extra 2 hours would help much, but has there been any discussion regarding possible lighting to extend to 9 p.m. closing time?
Nope. Again, for the simple fact that it's not a high peak time for people for use. And either Rob or Darren might have numbers on lighting. It's certainly not going to be anywhere near a cost recovery item for us to add. It does add an element too, as long as the light is proper, that the guards can still see the bottom of the pool the way that they legally need to, then it's something that we can do, but
No,
it doesn't seem to be
I
in
get
the
it.
cards right now. Yeah.
Question number 2, I saw an increase in numbers from 2022 to 2024. Would you attribute that to individual specified programming coming into play over the last couple of years, or where would you attribute the constant, it's been an increase from 2022 all the way to this past summer,
So 2 biggest keys to those increase in numbers. One is the aquatic memberships that I mentioned. That certainly increased our public swimming numbers. When it comes to lessons, our gains there was our aquatic supervisor finding ways that we can add a few numbers to some of the programs, especially the preschool programs, and that's where we gained in some of those lessons, and just a little tweaking of reorganizing the pool, trying to get more lessons in. So
okay,
I'm going to try again for that next year to see if there is any way that we can do it, but we have to toe that line of quality versus quantity, and we don't want to go past quality.
Absolutely, thank you. Any other questions regarding aquatics only right now? Or comments? Steve?
One of interest, economic demographics, where would you say you would be pulling from? Like, are you pulling from a wide variety, or is there mostly catering to maybe lower income, or do you have a feel for that at all?
I can say that we have a feel. I don't have any solid numbers to give you on that, but what I can share is we have provided subsidy through agencies to support families that have financial barriers, and to judge the affluency of the other patrons that come, I can't say, but I would feel pretty comfortable saying that we're covering all ranges of that demographic for.
Director?
So just to build on that, Steve, is our swimming lessons are really youth, right? So 1,700 youth attend the pool, ages 4 to 17-ish. Your lane swims and aquafit would be more of your older demographic. I don't want to say, all seniors, because they're not all seniors, but it would be more your adult to senior population. And then your public swim's going to be a mix, but I would suspect that the majority of that would be young families and youth.
Okay, we good to move on to camp? Are we good with the?
Just give me 2 seconds.
Sure.
I just need to share the screen.
Your screen.
You are sharing your screen.
Yeah, we see some.
Oh,
Yep.
why are you sharing that screen? How's that happened? That's my 2023 budget. So it was $231,000 or $252 last year, actual.
As we're waiting, I'm just going to throw it out there that this was my first time using Canva, so I'm going to plead that one. Kate stopped me a little bit, but I've still got some work to do. The camp one should be a little more accurate.
Duly noted.
address that elephant there.
I believe we'll note that in the minutes.
There we go.
Okay, we'll throw it back to Paul.
Alright, day camp annual report. That is a little bit, I'm gonna be honest, that's not this year's picture, but it's such a good picture, the one on the front cover, that I put it there, so. Skipping past the staff, but picked a quote from Henry Ford: "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success." And I think it really touches on the camp team. You can see how many staff there. I don't know if they all got in there, but there was 39 this year, 41. There you go. 41, and we started with 12 in 2017. So registration, as you can see from the chart, that staircase, pretty steady climb there. As we got up real high this year. What was that? Again, it doesn't show me the number, but I want to say it was 1852 was our number this year, and 352 was our first year. So you see how that just keeps climbing up and up. Now, kind of probably head off this question is, do you see us hitting a bit of a plateau here? Possibly. As we look, we've tried to focus the majority of our camps at West Middlesex, just because the amenities there are the best to work with. We have the pool, we have the yard, we have the gym inside, and the dry pad. So to accommodate what we can do with camp and keep that quality up, we've tried to focus most of our camps there, other than the ones that happen at Gemini, like hockey camp, and then a couple that we've squeezed into the high school for with our trades camps. But until we have another facility that can accommodate as well as that does, we'll probably see it level off here. The next slide shows our non-summer camps, and I included this one just to show that although we continue to do stuff during the year, you can see that the focus of our numbers is primarily on our summer camp, with winter camp coming in at 3% of our total numbers, March break camp 6%, even though for that week we do have quite a few kids, if it was just one camp. And then our PA day camps, which have held pretty steady as well, and they're 8% as they roll through the year, depending, and that'll fluctuate a little bit depending on the school's schedule of days.
Councillor Peltman? Sorry, Paul.
Before we move from that slide, who staffs those days?
So we use our program staff. So we've moved so we don't officially just have summer camp staff. We have recreation program staff. So those staff will cover, they cover market shifts, they cover rec programs, and primarily cover camp during the summer. And then during our school year programs, when we have after school programs going with our program staff, that's who we use for those camps. So ideally we always cross our fingers that we have enough high school students that have the same days off as the kids coming for camp, that we can staff those programs. That next slide shows that we're up to 4 streams now. This was the second year for theme camp, and it's grown in popularity as well. Aquatic camps continue to be probably our showpiece, which sells out the fastest, minus hockey camp that sells out in about a week now. But yeah, sports camps holding pretty strong, and then our specialty camps as well. Again, our camps almost completely sold out this year. I want to say that our max capacity would have been 1,984 campers, and we hit 1,852. So you can see that not a lot of gap there, considering we have, I want to say, camp had 67 programs, different camps, and we had here's some quick math, 1984, so 128 spots remaining. Hopefully the minutes don't reflect if I was wrong with my numbers. And then feedback, I mean, I could sit and read through these as well for you too, but you'll see that the feedback again is really strong for camp. Well run as always, kids had a blast. We'll definitely do this one again next year. Keep doing an amazing job for our community's kids. That's really the flavor of what comes through our camp. So I'm going to read the one in the top corner. Very well run camps. My daughter was very nervous to go, but the camp counselors made her feel comfortable. I'm very impressed. Can't give enough credit to the camp team and the staff for how hard they work and how good they are with the kids and the families, which I think is good for us to note that the kids certainly are number one priority. But if the families aren't happy with the experience, then the camp won't continue on. So,
Councillor Pammer.
I think last year we touched on, I think you put up a graph or a map showing where people were coming from, and I'm just wondering where we're at this year. You know, this is a taxpayer subsidized program department. So curious to know whether non-residents are taking advantage of that. Do we have that? Were we able to collect that information this year is my first question. And then secondly, depending on that, is it time to discuss taking action on a non-resident fee?
I'll throw that to either Director or Paul, who wants to comment on that.
We have that data. I don't have it readily available for you today. The majority of our campers do come locally. There are a number that do come from out of town. I would suggest that a number of those kids that are coming from out of town are because parents work in the community and are using the services as their, for lack of a better term, daycare. So they're able to commute to our community, work in our community, and have their kids, having camp in our community. So that would be the majority of that. We do get some kids who are like from other provinces. That's grandkids coming to visit grandma and grandpa for the summer, and grandma and grandpa looking for a place to put little Johnny and Susie into a camp for a week or two during the summertime.
One second, Paul, and then Councillor. Yeah, let's go to the follow-up first if you want, Councillor Pammer.
No, I was just going to say that grandparents or whatever are taxpayers, so that's fine. So if a person registered and their address was here, that's not what we're talking about. It's about our people coming from other communities who aren't paying into our taxes that are taking advantage of a tax subsidized low. And I want to see the costs remain accessible for our families. I think it's really important to have summer programming that is at an affordable price for families. But depending on the numbers, perhaps that's something we want to look at.
Let's go to Paul.
Yeah.
Sorry, my apologies. Paul.
It's all good. I think it's something that we should keep on the dashboard, but I don't know that we're there yet. My hesitation is the risk of restricting non-residents to registering is we'll start receding in our registrations, which will also affect our revenues, which will affect our operations. So I think that our camps aren't selling out so quick that people don't have an opportunity to register. And if we restrict those non-residents, and again, when we have families coming and bringing their kids to camp, then the residual effects are that they may be doing their shopping in town and locally. So there is that money that stays in community as well. So I think I don't see that there being a need yet to look at that or take any action. But it's certainly something that we can keep on the dashboard.
All councillors in the queue. We'll start with Councillor Wilson.
So
My only comment on that is if you look at when people come spend money in that, they are supporting our businesses, but that doesn't change the income the municipality makes. They pay tax, that goes to federal, provincial, that doesn't come to our municipality. They're running our roads, we have to pay for those, we're paying for the extra for them to come in. Like, there's all these costs, we're not actually getting anything extra from the municipality. The other part is if our programs are already selling out, and they're selling, even if they're not selling out super quickly, as long as they're all still selling out, we only have 100 places left. Why wouldn't we try to increase our revenue to offset some of our costs? Because we're subsidizing everyone, whether they're a resident or not. If we're still going to sell out and we can get a little bit more from non-residents, I think that helps everybody.
Councillor Palmer.
I think that's,
Okay, we'll go to Councillor Pelton then.
I was just gonna say maybe, if a differential fee is problematic based on whether they're grandkids or if they live in Adelaide Metcalf, maybe, putting people who are non-residents on a wait list for a period of time until, our own residents have had an opportunity to sign up might be a different approach or a different way to look at it.
Councillor Palmer.
yeah, so I wasn't really suggesting that we limit registration for non-residents, rather that when they sign up, they're paying a little bit more. So it's been a long time since I've had kids in day camp, but I do recall sending them to London camps and I had to pay, there was a resident fee and a non-resident fee for my kids to go to an art camp or something that was run by the City of London. And it was maybe $5, $10 more, but the point was, because when I registered, my address was not the City of London, that it automatically bumped me into that higher category. So I'm not saying we want to push down the numbers and restrict people who can come, because you know Adelaide Metcalf is just around the corner, so it would make perfect sense. They probably don't have summer camps that their kids are going to come here, but they're not. But we're paying for it. The taxes are paying for it. So I think it would be what I'm referring to is, you know, they pay $5 more, $10 more in their registration.
Paul, or the director, and then Paul.
So to accomplish that, we would first need to make sure that our software that we use has that capability, which I am not 100% sure it does at this point. So that may be an issue where we may have to switch providers, booking schedule system. The other challenge is if we don't have the ability through our software and we don't change our software, the cost from a labor perspective to patrol this becomes astronomical. Because now we're gonna have to have, we're about 75, maybe 80% online registrations. If those that are from out of the community have to now start calling into the office to do registrations, then the time it takes to do a registration in person is a lot longer than it is, like, I shouldn't say a lot longer, it takes more staff time, obviously. So we'll have to investigate what we have from a software perspective to see if that's even doable. Lots of communities do a resident, non-resident rate. Lots of communities also do residents get, you know, a 2-week window to register first. So you'll notice on the upcoming fees schedule that the community services presents 2 years worth of fees. We'll present 2025 and we'll present 2026 as a just so the not service groups, but the minor sporting groups know what could be coming, but it's always subject to change. 2026 this year, all the fees are under review. So we're going to be going out to our comparators as well as our neighboring municipalities, see what other people are doing. So this might be a good year to do some research with regards to resident rates, non-resident rates, waiting periods, and so on while we're gathering up that data. So.
Paul, and then Councillor Pelton.
The only other thing I was gonna add is if we look at adding it to camp, are we then looking at adding it in other areas as well? Where do we stop, where do we start? And certainly, certainly something I'm sure we can look into doing, and again, the software, that I don't think that it accommodates it right now, and certainly won't in our programs, but, yeah, that's just my comment on that.
Councillor Pelton?
For those families that we're providing a subsidy for, is that through the I Can Play 2 program from the county? So it wouldn't really make a difference if they're what municipality they're from. It's not technically Strathroy-Caradoc subsidizing those families.
Correct, they would need to live inside Strathroy-Caradoc to be eligible for those grants.
Any other questions, comments? Steve?
How much does each camp change each year? So what I'm thinking is, if I send my kid to your Camp A, are they gonna get the exact same camp as in Camp A the following year? Or do you mix it up so that it has a variety to it, so the camp doesn't become boring camp? So that you would see, your numbers are great right now, right? Because it's all new and everybody hasn't been to those camps. But are they gonna get the repeat customers? I did see you said, on the one, it said, I'm gonna come back next year. I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, good question. Yeah, we do a program plan, a new one each year. Now, to tell you that there's not repeat games and activities and things that are done, absolutely there are favorites are picked, whatever, but we'll rotate out to camps that maybe didn't have as much success. Like we've taken out our track and field camp and replaced it with specialty sports. So we'll do things like that. Also, we change the themes, take the ones that were really successful and they may come back next year, but ones that kids didn't love as much and the feedback wasn't there, we'll replace with something else. And we do different projects, like our junior carpenters won't do the same build every year that they do. They'll do something new, and chefs will cook different things, but yeah.
We'll go Director Lilborn and then Kate, and then Councillor Pelton. Director?
I was just, I know I did the residency work a few months ago. So on average, out of all of our programs, so our summer camps, our winter camps, fall and so on, we had 13% were non-resident. So out of about 14,000 participants across all of our programs, about 1,800 of them, 1812 were non-resident.
Kate?
I can just speak to our camps from a parent perspective, also someone who doesn't live in Strathroy but works here. So I have very picky children, my son especially, and this was his second year in the camps, and he did not say that it was repeated or boring or anything. So from a parent perspective, I can speak to the fact that the camps are still engaging year after year.
Councillor Pelton?
Switching topics somewhat. So you stated that you tried to keep all the camps at West Middlesex. Is there growth opportunity in Mount Bridges using the CCC and that property around it? And I know like the park, for instance, isn't owned by us, so I'm just wondering what kind of complications that has.
Paul?
We certainly have discussed about adding Mount Bridges to the menu. Whether it happens next year or not, I can't tell you for sure right now, but we do fall into that same reason why we try to stick at West Middlesex. Be honest, the pool is a big sell for not just the kids, but for the parents in bringing kids to camp. It's not an amenity that is there in Mount Bridges. We can certainly play water games, but it's not the same. But yeah, we have looked at that. It's certainly something that we can do, and I think what we really need to factor is whether it's going to be worth having camp there versus revenues that we can generate out of the building without camp. So yeah, it's certainly an option.
Sherry?
I could appreciate if something was gonna go into Mount Bridges for summer camp, but at the same token, I work here in Strathroy. I bring my kids to the camp here as well. And there are other community groups that then get a push out of the community center for other things. Therefore, they don't have the air conditioning. They have to find other suitable spots for the summer and stuff like that as well. So I'm not about pushing out like activities for seniors and stuff like that when they need the air conditioning facilities as well.
Any other comments, questions on the camp year-end report? Okay. Let's go to 7.3, verbal update regarding special events. Is that Kate? Kate, your floor.
Yes, so for 2025, we have 10 of our major events planned, as well as the downtown Strathroy Market. So there is a schedule of events that has been included in the agenda. So we have added next year Meet Strathroy-Caradoc. So the rest of the events are things that are being repeated and grown, but Meet Strathroy-Caradoc is a new event happening in October of 2025, and that will be an opportunity for current residents and new residents to come and meet different stakeholders. We'll have the municipality, the county, and then different community groups, service clubs, things like that, so people can come and see what the community has to offer.
Any questions for Kate regarding special events?
I was just trying to pull that up for the viewers at home. So just in case the viewers at home are watching and are curious when the different events are, this is all on our website as well. So again, a list of events that we provide to the community.
And something really exciting this year for Family Day, we're only hosting it at the Caradoc Community Center on the Monday, and we've rented a synthetic ice rink. So we will have outdoor skating for Family Day in Strathroy-Caradoc.
Councillor Wilsey.
What is Meet Strathroy-Caradoc in October?
Yeah, that's the event I just spoke to, where you'll be able to meet different community groups, the county, the municipality, the different things that our community offers to residents and new residents.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll stay with Kate, I assume, for the Christmas market.
Yes, so this is one that I'm really excited about. It's this Friday. It's the Hometown Christmas Market. So we have a number of events between the BIA, the Strathroy Lions, and us. So fingers crossed for great weather. We have 60 vendors between food trucks, small businesses, and different items like that. And then I found out today that Mugs will also be having a small vendor market, so there's even more. We'll have the BIA has sponsored a horse and carriage that will start from near shops on Sydenham and run down Front Street and then down Thomas to Frank. We also have a kids Ferris wheel. I've been told that I'm too big for it, so we're all too big for it. And then we have different photo op locations. We'll have the gingerbread bench. There's going to be a Christmas Carol at the right place, which is a donation. And then the tree lighting starts at 6 p.m. with a performance by Dance Factor, and then the actual tree lighting happens at 7 p.m.
Any questions? Comments? Councillor Wilson.
The Mount Bridges and Strathroy Scouts are doing a Christmas tree pickup at this, so you can actually order and pay for your tree online, and then pick up your live tree as you're leaving the market. So that's on there.
Anyone else regarding the Christmas market? 4 to 8 p.m. Friday. Okay, thanks, Kate. Inquiries or comments by members, we'll go around the shoe, starting with Councillor Pelkman.
I guess my only comment is for the camps. We asked a lot of questions, but that's because it's a problematic success story. When you start getting too big, you gotta start asking and making tough decisions. So kind of glad we're maybe not at that point yet, but certainly I don't want to take away from the success and the good work that was done, because anytime I drove by West Middlesex, there were tons of people there, and that was just great to see.
Councillor Wilsey.
Nothing tonight.
Brad.
Just a quick wrap up on the senior game stuff that I've been talking about in the past. If it's all over for the season now, which is good, I get a bit chance to rest a bit. But we had the Ontario team formed. We had about 100 members into the Ontario team. And they went on to Quebec City for the Canada Games. And we come back with a few golds and a couple of silvers. Our golfers won the gold and silver for the ladies. My cyclist guy, he won silver. So we had a few things. Strathroy actually hosted the cycling and the walking here. What we did was spread it out all over the neighborhood, because we're here on Perth and Middlesex. That's the three groups that I look after anyways. And lo and behold, at the end of the day, we won the best regional area. We get a big plaque for that. I said, that's not bad for year one, I'll take that. But yeah, we're hopefully next year, what I'd love to see at Strathroy is to get more seniors involved. If I'm having one problem, that's probably it. Getting people to come out and try it, try pickleball or something, and we had 600 people at pickleball. So it's gone over pretty well. So.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brad. Paul?
I'm good.
Kate?
Nothing for me.
Darren?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Steve?
I'm good.
Councillor Palmer?
I'm good.
Geiger?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Carrie? Director, do you have anything else?
We won't be meeting again until January, so I just want to thank committee members for the last 12 months. I want to wish everyone a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you all in the new year.
We should have talked before the meeting, because that's exactly what I was going to say. So we'll move on to our next meeting date, which is, oh, sorry, Councillor Copeland.
Sorry, Rob and I had a conversation last night about,
We're not all blend together anymore.
yeah, about the Medal of Distinction Award and reviewing the stipulations. I'll just speak from my own experience. I nominated 2 people who between them had close to 90 years of community involvement, and neither one of them made it through. And yet we only awarded 2 people the Medal of Distinction award. So I'm thinking that maybe the stipulations might be a little too tight, and the process maybe needs to be reviewed. So Rob suggested that I bring that forward, that we review the process to see what it is, and maybe it's an automatic if you've been 20 plus years in a organization as a volunteer, that's maybe sufficient, or someone's involvement through multiple organizations. So anyways, that was one item, and the other was maybe in our reports for programming, we could specify senior programming and attendance levels for those.
Director?
Are you asking us to bring forward information on that? Because
Well,
we can't, that's not a problem.
just as you report regularly, I think we should probably start looking at that as a specific focus.
Absolutely.
Splitting back to Kate, who wanted to make a comment on your first comment, I believe. Kate?
Yeah, for the Medal of Distinction program, so that is something that the committee is reviewing. I will say, and I'm not speaking to your nominations, Steve, the nominations lack information. So they have a basic idea of the years that person has volunteered, but they lack more information. So it's done anonymously. So when I read them, or when the committee reads them, saying this person has volunteered for 20 years sounds great, but when there's not information on what that means, they could have sat on that committee for 20 years but never gone to a meeting. So it's just needing more information. We've awarded 2 this year, and they will be awarded at the December 16th council meeting for anyone who wants to tune in and watch that. But one of them had the most information we've ever received in an application. So that really helps the committee make those selections. We are going to be changing the application form going forward to really try and draw out more of that information, but I will say for 2024, I reached out to all of the nominators, gave them the opportunity to add more information, and only 1 did. So that's kind of where we see that.
Councillor Wilsey?
Just on that, I did make a nomination and talked to some people about it. I spoke to Kate about it during the process. One of the things that both myself and some of the other people who nominated the same person came up with the issue is that Kate was very clear about how the process went, is they have to strip out any information, the person's name, the group they went, what they did, anything that's potentially personally identifiable. And when we did that, like, I read through my statement that I put in, and basically there was only verbs left. There was nothing that they did. Wasn't even it didn't make any sense. If you strip all that out and you blank it out and you just fill it with a blanket, like this person did. Oh, I can't say, because they're gonna, if it's identifiable to what they did, you can't include that in it. So it was, there's a lot of frustration from other people who nominated the same person as well once that information was there. So I do think if we're looking into it, that's a good thing to look at. But I do know there were some good reasons for doing it that Kate explained to me, so I don't want to say that made it much more difficult. I think that needed to be.
Director and then Kate.
Yeah, so the conversation that, so what we asked the committee to do is, because what we were trying to do is get, how do we draw more information into the application, right? Like, or the submission, because we would get, and this is not a lie, 5 lines as the Medal of Distinction nomination. And this is the highest honor that a resident can receive from the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc. And 5 lines doesn't cut it. So what we asked the committee to do is to give us some ideas how we can draw out, so providing some open-ended questions and stuff like that. What I'm thinking about, because this committee actually created the terms of reference, original terms of reference for the current program that we have. So when Councillor Pelkman brought forward his comments last night, I think what we need to do as staff is incorporate those changes that the committee, the MOD committee, has suggested. And I think it wouldn't be wrong for this committee then to review the updated terms of reference, because those terms of reference were approved by council and they would need to be approved by council again. Right? So if we're making any substantive changes. So again, we've got a year before this needs to be concerned, but we don't want to let it go too long. So we'll probably have something to this committee, probably March or April, to start looking. So
We're going to go to Brad, actually.
Just a quick comment. I was here when we started that program a few years back, and it really is. I take it as a prestige award, and if you don't get the points you need, it's going to water it down quite a bit. And I wouldn't want to see that happen, because it's pretty important.
You're good. Any other comments, questions, since we're on Medal of Distinction? Steve?
How many have they given out?
The first year was the most. I think the inaugural year was like 20. I don't know.
17 in the first
17,
year.
so yeah.
I can pull up the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
No, I'm just wondering. It
I
was
believe
like,
Kate has a
it's
spreadsheet.
like 1 or 2, then it isn't really distinct at all, right? It's like, you
We're
know.
at about 30 since 2017, and that's with 17 that first year.
Okay. Do we want to get a number on that, or we're moving on? Don't worry, if you don't have it, that's fine.
No, I do.
Okay.
18, 19, 20, 24, 25. Including 2024, there's been 28.
28. Hey, any other questions? Okay, I was going to mention the same thing. Holiday greetings and Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year to our committee members and everyone watching at home. Next meeting would be Tuesday, January the 14th, 2025. That should be corrected on the agenda.
oh, did I say 2020?
Yes, sir. At 6 p.m. 2025. All right, at 6 p.m. and I'll need a mover to adjourn. Brad, all in favor? Oh, sorry, what do I need? Oh, I need a seconder. You need a second for that. Okay, seconder, please. Councillor Pelkman, all in favor? Carried. Thank you and good night.